So to review, so last time we discussed l'chazara of the fact that Bnei Ir have wide-ranging powers. The civil government has wide-ranging latitude to do what's necessary for the functioning of its city. We also reminded ourselves of the Rambam's point that tzedakah is a chova, not only a chovas hayachid, but also chovas hatzibur. Included in the mitzvah of tzedakah is not just to give charity, but also, let's say, if somebody needs healthcare, to give them healthcare. And then I don't think I'm going and out on a limb to say that just like the Rambam says, the highest form of tzedakah, when the Rambam has this famous, gradations of the mitzvah of tzedakah, Shmona Milos, so he says the Maila Gdola, She'en Lamal Mimena, Zeh HaMachzik B'Yisrael Shemach. Sorry, one second. The highest Maila is you give him a right when he's starting to he's mach he's not an ani yet, he's just he's under a crunch. He's in a crunch, so you get him a job. L'chazik es yado actually tzarich lebrios lishol. So he shouldn't need to ask. So presumably the same thing is true when it comes to healthcare. That better than giving people medical treatment is to give them the tools that they shouldn't need medical treatment, right? So that's also part of the chovas hatzibur. It makes a lot of sense that a healthcare system, and this is how it is in the world today. Healthcare systems are not only interested in, or primarily they would prefer to prevent people from needing their services than to treat them once they're sick. So that's part of the chovas hatzibur l'chora. And then we discussed how, for a yachid at least, there is an isser to be chovel on yourself or somebody else. There is a, Rambam would call it a chachma, a midah tova, to be concerned for your health in general sense, to have healthy lifestyle. And then, because most pertinent for us at the moment maybe is to not do dangerous things. That the Rambam has in Hilchos Otzech Shmeres Nefesh, that we learn out from Ma'akev, we learn out Minishmartim Olam Achshosechem, that you can't do things which are dangerous. And then we spoke about Shomer B'Sayim Hashem and how it's difficult to define exactly what it means to be dangerous. One second. Things which are statistically, obviously dangerous, things which are objectively dangerous. So then, that they're usher. I think it was after the shir that I brought up. I don't remember if it was during the shir itself. I brought up the Tshuva of the Binyan Tzion, who says that anything which is more than 50, anything which will be dangerous more than 50% of the time is absolutely, there's no question, you may not do it. That's pasha. I don't mean anything less than 50% you can, but that's obvious that you have no license at all, and that's why the RCA Tshuva, in their Tshuva on smoking, you can get it online. So they will. Ramosha. Oh, Yaakov is confirming that the tshuva on smoking was indeed to Rabbi Razov's father. He wanted him to answer it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Four published tshuvas to Dr. Razner. What? Okay, Shema. So in the RCA Tshuva, they ask for smoking for many reasons, but among them is that they cite statistics that more than 50% of smokers will suffer, they will lose time in their life. More than 50, so if you're a smoker, now being a smoker is not a mice of smoking, so it's a little bit more complicated, but if you're a smoker, I mean, you're addicted, you do it consistently, then the stats are that more than 50% of the smokers will lose time in their life. The RCA says that fails the Binyan Tzion already. I mean, that's like a very far, that's like absolutely also you can't even try. But even far below that, something could still be usher if it's treated as a dangerous activity. That's where Shomer B'Sayim Hashem comes in. It's very difficult to just nail down what's called Shomer B'Sayim Hashem, what's not. And we saw Rashi in Shabbos who says that the tzibur, this, really doing Hakadosh Dam on Erev Shabbos is dangerous, but because of financial hardship, it just wasn't possible for the tzibur not to do it, because they needed to eat fish the day after, and the only time they ever had fish was on Shabbos. So you also see, Agav, that they could have chosen to have fish, if Hakaza is really dangerous, so do it on Sunday, have your fish on Monday, and on Shabbos, you'll have whatever, potatoes. So you see, you don't have to give up on your covered Shabbos. Right? Meaning, if the lifestyle it's not just like they had no money at all, they had to do Hakaza on Friday. But their lifestyle was such that they didn't have fish on Monday, they had it on Shabbos. And they don't need to change that lifestyle. They're allowed to, or it's hard to know, they were allowed to initially, or after the fact, we rubber stamped it. But because it was a legitimate choice, it's hard to pin down exactly when we will give the stamp of approval to the Tzibor's decision to treat a sakana as just a normal activity. Yeah.
Because two questions about how it works.
Don't do it. The question is about hakaza, bloodletting. Yeah.
Really, like how often does it physically harm the person doing hakaza on Friday?
Okay.
And does it will it kill the person, or is it just it'll make his kalash?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I mean, hakaza. I don't know enough about hakaza. The question is how hakaza on Friday. How dangerous is it? Are we talking about sakas nefashos? Are we talking about it just makes you woozy?
Also,
is it every time we do it on Friday? Is it just like it might happen? I don't know. It just says that you shouldn't do it on Friday. Al yakiz dam b'shishi or b'mali shabbos nami because Mars is in the corner. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I did. I don't know. But it's clear, the Gemara clearly takes it as something which is dangerous. If you want to get out of hakaza, maybe it'd be more instructive to use a different example of Shalom Sam Hashem and Shas. The Gemara where are the other places? There's one Yevamos about women getting pregnant, where it's clearly talking about a woman, she could die. I mean, the danger there is death. I don't know about the percentages, but it's clearly, it's not woozy. She would die, or the baby would die, one or the other. I don't know the percentages. What are some other examples of Shalom Sam Hashem? What was an exubus that I gave you? Going exubus. What was that? I don't know that one. Another one. What was Ksuas Lamates? What's Ksuas Lamates? Did you remember? I don't remember. Anyway, but meaning you see from Yevamos L'chora that even something which could certainly result in death, if Shalom Sam Hashem, the percentages are certainly low. They have to be low because otherwise, L'chora Shalom Sam Hashem. It's hard to know. I talked to Rabbi Zuckerman about this a little bit. Like Shalom Hashem, it totally changes the mitzias. Like it sounds like it's saying Hashem actively guards the people who are foolish. It objectively should have been a foolish thing, and a certain percentage of people should have died, but God will make sure they don't because it would be unfair because they needed to. But that's very hard to state. It's very hard to assert that. It seems more reasonable to say you're a pesi, but you're allowed to, and it's the normal, and we're not guaranteeing no one's going to die, but it becomes part of the cheshbon is legitimate cheshbon. So it's more palatable, at least for me. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I believe that's how he thought so. I believe that's how he thought too. But if that's the case, it can't be such a high percentage. And the Gemara in Yevamos is not saying that women were dying left and right from doing this, whatever the Gemara was talking about. It means that you're taking a statistical risk, and that's legitimate. I mean, risk taking in when you're making a calculus of how you're going to lead your life. So lots of things entail risk. So yeah. For opening the economy, we'll get to that. So far, we're only on the level of Yachid. When we talk about the Tzibor, we're going to see it's not just a raya, it's almost, it has to be the case. But even on level of a yachid, right? Totally different question. Even on the level of a yachid, we see that a yachid but the whole definition of what counts as sakana changes based on societal perceptions. Thank you very much. So the Gemara Ksubis is talking about. Oh, this is one about pregnancy. Sorry, I understand. Okay, this is the one. Okay, good, fine. Non pregnancy. Fine. No, I maybe I made a mistake. I was confused. Okay, fine, good. So that's kind of where we left it off. So Naftali asked, would the Shomer P'sayim Hashem be a raya that you could open the economy, even if there are statistically, it's going to lead, it's statistically dangerous, right? And
I didn't say just because of the fish, was it specifically a money thing?
It was an economical issue, right? Meaning it was a duchka de tzibur in the sense of finances. Yeah.
You say, I'm pretty sure it's the Minchas Yaakov, people for checking bugs and vegetables or whatever, 10%. Right?
The Mishkas Yaakov. Yeah.
So, based on that, six what to consider have a mistake, like what percentage of wine could be vinegar.
Okay.
So, would you be able to apply the 10% rule somehow in this case?
So the question is, so we have in general in halacha, we have a hagdara of miut hamatzui is 10%, right? It's actually machlokas.
Yeah.
Right? What's a miut hamatzui? So nafkamina, the most probably relevant nafkamina is checking for bugs. If you have produce which more than 50% of the time there are bugs in it, so there's a rove of, let's pretend with lettuce, let's say rove lettuce was bug infested, so you would have you'd have a chiyuv deraisa to get rid of the bugs. I mean, it's becheskas bugs, so you'd have a chiyuv deraisa to get rid of the bugs, or if that's to get rid of them, as much as you probably violated an issa deraisa in eating the lettuce, because it's assumed to have bugs, so it's assumed that you violated the issa deraisa of eating shratzim. If there is a miut of bugs, so then you probably didn't violate issa deraisa. But if there's a miut hamatzui, which we paskin is 10%. That means 10% of the lettuce that you eat could have a bug in it. So then you have a chiyuv d'rabbanan to check for it. If there's less than a miut hamatzui, you don't even have to check. So if statistically, when they inspect lettuce in food processing plants, they only find bugs in 3% of the lettuce, so then it doesn't even need to be checked. So would that shear of 10% be relevant here? Le'inyan what? Le'inyan.
Maybe like endanger or stop to endanger yourself. Maybe not others. Others would be 10%. Can I be like, okay, it's 3%?
So good. So that's a great question. And the truth is, it actually leads right into the next point. If you don't have Shomer P'sayim Hashem, let's say something is not Shomer P'sayim Hashem. So what is a sakana? Right? If there's Shomer P'sayim Hashem, then it could be the percentages don't matter. Right? Now it might be if 10% of people who engage in activity die, let's say climbing Mount Everest. Right? Clearly, there's no Shomer P'sayim Hashem to climb Mount Everest. There's no need that we as society need to climb Mount Everest. Now, let's say a person really wants to. So, and let's say the percentages are, 10% of the people who, let's say it was 50%, 15% who attempt Mount Everest die, or 5% who attempt Mount Everest die. Would it matter? Probably not. I don't think that would matter. I don't know. I would be surprised. But it could be 10%. But just one very, very important tosos, which I probably should have put it last time, but instead I'll bring it up now, is if we're talking about In the Gemara Yuma Pei Hey Amud Aleph, which is one of the important sugyas of Pikuach Nefesh, being Doche Isurim, the context there obviously is, the original context is Yom Kippur, but then the Gemara goes into Shabbos, and then the Gemara says, a very important line, Ein Hochem B'Pikuach Nefesh Achar Harov. So the Tosfos says, how do I know that we don't follow the rov in Pikuach Nefesh? Dichsev v'chai bahem v'lo sheyamus bahem shlo yuchal lavo b'shum inyan lidei misas Yisrael. Right. So if there's the case in the Gemara is that you have a city which is rov not Jewish, and there's a building which falls, and somebody's trapped under the building, and you don't know who it is, Jew, non-Jew, and it's Shabbos, and then you might be doing malacha d'oraisa in removing the rubble to save the person underneath. So you might have said, well, Rove, the city is not Jewish, so Mastama, it's a non-Jew. So we don't say that. What about if it's even, now Yaakov, this is basically your question, right? Let's say 90% of the city is not Jewish, right? So even in that case, l'chora, it wouldn't matter. The Gemara wasn't mechalik. If there's a Jew in the city, and this gets into very interesting questions about, kavua, mechzo, mechza, kol parish, muruv parish. Yeah. Nowadays, absolutely save the non-Jew no matter what. Any of you who are planning to go into medicine, we could talk about that more, how important that is. But just like to understand like the pristine halacha, the Gemara does not mashma all that would depend on 90% or more. And Tosfos' formulation is that the word v'chai b'hem means that observing mitzvos, in this case Shabbos, should not result in any way to the death of a Jew. That's what Tosfos says. So now you might say, if Shabbos shouldn't lead to the death of a Jew, then how could Hakaza lead to the death of a Jew? And the answer is that's what Shomer B'Sam Hashem really means. That's what you get. That's the chiddush of Shomer B'Sam Hashem. That if people on Shabbos, if people don't treat this as a dangerous thing, then you're not allowed to Michal Shabbos because we don't treat it like sakana anymore. That's even though statistically it's possible that a person could die, if it's not treated as such, then the halacha doesn't treat it as such either. Because I think that's the objective thing, and then Shomer B'Sam Hashem, neither one probably will take into account the miyah, how much you get. Okay, so what about the tzibur? So what I really just, the point I want to make, and we'll bring a few examples of this, is that, it really starts from Bava Basra, from Parak Aleph, is that when it's tzibur is making cheshbonos, it makes cheshbonos a totally different way. And we discussed this a little bit. That could be because a tzibur has broader cheshbonos. The tzibur also has like a values question. And a tzibur has pooled resources, right? You're taking everyone's combined resources together, and it's sometimes the cheshbon comes out differently. So the Rush in the first paragraph of Bava Basra is discussing the following. The Gemara had said that everybody has to pay for, even Yisomim have to pay for things which have to do with defense, right? The safety of the city, but not Rabbanan. But Yisomim, they don't have to pay taxes. Now, the Gemara had a chiluk. Yisomim don't have to pay taxes. Right? The Gemara says that Yisomim don't have to pay taxes, but they have to pay for Shmira. So the Rush comments, V'yireli, D'chol mine misim, midi dinitirusa ninhu. So the Rush says, seems to me, in his time at least, all taxes are considered things that are for the safety of the city. Kiheim hashomrim osanu ben ha'akum. Because paying taxes is what preserves us between the non-Jews. Kimato elas yesh l'ktas akum banu l'shomrenu u'shiv osanu benihem. Ella b'shvil hana shani osin me'es Yisrael l'gvos mehen misim ranunos. Because what benefit is there to the non-Jews to have Jews living amongst them, if not for the taxes that we pay them? The rush is, certainly reflecting the reality of the Middle Ages, when Jews would be evicted from one town and then invited to another town. Why were they always invited? Because the local, lord, duke, king, whatever it was, wanted them to do business and pay taxes. That was the benefit that they gave. So Rash says the Gemara is machalik between taxes and shmira, but the truth is, in our mitzias, taxes are shmira. Now, what would happen if they didn't pay taxes? What would happen? So the Rosh says in a tshuva, I don't have it in front of me. The Rosh says in a tshuva, I gave it on Merkoros, Klav Vav, Oz Beis, and it's quoted in Shulchan Aruch Staka. The Rosh says in a tshuva that you're allowed to divert funds that were earmarked for Talmud Torah to pay taxes. Why? Nowadays, the shilas are always like, "Oh, can I get out of paying taxes?" The Rosh is saying how important it is to pay taxes, even diverting funds from Talmud Torah. That's a different shir. But why is it so important? Says the Rosh, because if the Jewish community doesn't pay the requested amount of taxes, then the local, the lord, the duke, whatever, will rough up some of the Jews, especially the poorer ones who weren't paying their share, and it could lead to a case of sakan sefashos. And sakan and sefashos is docha Talmud Torah. That's his cheshbon. So he's not saying, now it could be he just wasn't saying it because he wanted to be politically correct, but he doesn't say that they're going to go and kill people. He says that they're going to go and they're going to rough people up, and that's a concept of fashos already, right? If there's a situation where people are being pressed for money and they're being beat up by the gang sent by the local ruler in order to collect taxes, the Rosh is the I'm concerned for Sakan Tefashos. He doesn't say it explicitly, but the Chassam Sofer took from the Rosh that the point the Rosh is saying is that when it comes to the tzibur, duchka de tzibura b'chlal pikuach nefesh. That's what the Chassam Sofer quotes the Rosh as saying that duchka de tzibura, that is pikuach nefesh. That is pikuach nefesh. Right? So even though for an individual, we wouldn't say if an individual is getting beat up, right? You see one guy beating another guy, they're getting into a fist fight. You wouldn't say you can call Shabbos. Again, unless he had a terrible injury. But minas tam, you wouldn't say you can call Shabbos for somebody who's getting beat up. You'd say, break up the fight. But on the tzibur level, if you're concerned that a certain course of action, not paying the taxes, will mean that the IRS of the time will come and enforceably take money or possessions and beat up the people who didn't pay. So that's b'chal b'koch nefesh. So how do you get that jump? What's the pshat in that jump? Pshat? Yeah.
We say at least for like minder opponents of the bad Shabbos, you can
we say on Shabbos that you're allowed to violate a drabanan for chol she'ein b'sakana. Okay. So you're right. So if a person is getting hurt, if a person could be hurt, then, but you wouldn't call that pikuach nefesh, right? What? No. So the particular application of the rush was diverting money from Talmud Torah for pikuach nefesh. But then he said because pikuach nefesh is gedola hatzal sefashos yosim Talmud Torah. Derech Agav, and I can talk about it, but the Beis Yosef and then other Achronim talk about the rush, because the Gemara in Megillah says explicitly the opposite. For those of you who did the Kiyas Blitz, the Gemara says that Gedola, Talmud Torah, Yoser, and Hatzal Sefashos. Because Mordechai, he was Ratzui L'Rov Echad. Because the Sanhedrin they were more chashuv than him because he had been doing Hatzal Sefashos while they were learning. So, which is better, learning or saving lives? But L'maisa, that's what the rush says. Hatzal Sefashos doche. So he calls it Hatzal Sefashos. I mean, we're not talking about you're right. The particular application may not be so chomer, but the principle laid out, and certainly taken by the Chasam over that way, is that on a tzibur level, right? People getting hurt on a tzibur level is now Hatzal Sefashos, right? So that's my question. How do you get that jump? So Chelesh Shem B'Sakana is not enough. It's not a significant enough example. Any suggestions? Yeah.
When you say that, like on an individual level, maybe it's not a luscious, but if you have all these people, statistically, something's going to happen eventually.
In the aggregate, right? L'chora, right? So I agree. Like l'chora, the pshat is that in the aggregate, when you have something which, for any individual, you'd say, okay, he's getting beat up. Okay, let's break up the fight and move on. But in the aggregate, if you have a situation where getting beat up is a distinct possibility for many people. So first of all, it might go wrong. They might be a little too harsh. Second of all, you might have people who are just weaker, right? If you have a very weak person, if you have an old, frail person who gets beat up on Shabbos, for them it's valid, right? If somebody gets, if a person gets mugged, right? Lo aleinu. Person gets mugged on Shabbos. So if you're a young, strong person, you get mugged, so you move on. But an old, frail lady who gets mugged, so they're taking her straight to the hospital because they're worried about broken ribs and organ failure. Like when you think about things in the aggregate, right? They take on much more significance, either because it could just go wrong, or because for the wrong person, even this seemingly minor event could be much more dangerous, right? Yeah.
Let's say 5%. Like this roughing up, whatever. Say like you're having like you bring really young, whatever. It only like cause like serious damage 5% of the time.
Right.
So if that happens to one person, 5% chance something can happen. So okay, but now when you say that it's a 5% chance of having happening to 1,000 people.
Then it means vada, right? Exactly, right. So even something good. So if you have something which for one person it's a 5% chance that will hurt them. So for that person, it's the vast majority of the time he'll be fine. But if you have 1,000 people who are subject to this, and 5% of them are going to get dangerously hurt, that's 50 people who are dangerously hurt. Right. Very good. Yeah. Oh, so when it comes to eating lettuce or broccoli, so if I eat lettuce every day, right? I sit down to eat lettuce every day. Day one, there's a 4% chance of there being bugs. I eat it. Day two is a 4% chance. Day three is a 4% chance. Then I can eat it all day, every day. Not all day. I can eat it every day, maybe all day. That's a very interesting question. But right, and sometimes some say you could even eat them all together. That's machlokas rishonim. Yeah, but for sure, let's say on separate days, with there, for sure that's a little different. But even there, rishonim are making. There for sure, where for sure there's nevela. If the bugs, it's just statistically, it's assumed that there are bugs in 4% of the produce. That's what the tests in the factory reveal. You could eat lettuce every single day. You don't have to worry about it. Because there, it's a halachic chashash of a ma'isa achila. So your ma'isa achila every time is fine. Every time I did a ma'isa achila, it was fine. Here we're talking about human life. Human life in the aggregate, or for the particularly unfortunate individual in the even on one occasion, it is now considered dangerous, right? So when we think about the tzibur, so it's more dangerous. I want to say another, not, it's not just another shab, it's another aspect of why Ducha de Tzibura. The particular example of Chassam Sofer is from the Gemara in Gittin. The Gemara in Gittin, this is what I sent you this morning, or late last night for you guys. You probably didn't have a chance to see it. But Tosfos asks a stira. Two Gemaras in Gittin, not far away from each other. Most of you guys, some of you guys, so maybe you're familiar with this. So the Mishnah says on Mem Hey Manaf in Gittin, Ain't poden es hashvuyin yesral kendei demehen mipnei tikkun ha'olam. So we don't redeem captives for more than their value mipnei tikkun ha'olam. This is unfortunately very much on the discussion table in Eretz Yisrael today. It came up obviously about Shalit. In general, it comes up when it talks about prisoner exchanges. So the Mishnah says we're not podeh as shavui for more than his value. Mipnei tikkun ha'olam. The Gemara says, what's this tikkun ha'olam? Ibayahu, hi mipnei tikkun ha'olam. Mishum ducha ditziburahu, odilma mishum delo legavu leleisu tvei. Is it because it's too difficult for the tzibur? It's ducha ditzibura, so we shouldn't bring. Rashi's lashon is elon lidchok hatzibur labil de anius b'shvil elu. We shouldn't make the whole tzibur poor for these people. Or is it lo legavu leleisu tvei, that we shouldn't encourage the capturers, right, to capture more people, right? So obviously this is both very, very, very relevant nowadays. Both, people say when you redeem a captured soldier, you're both encouraging them to do it again, and you are unleashing terrorists back into, you're releasing them back into society, and that's worse than bringing Klal Yisrael to Aniyus. Mem Hey Manaf in Gittin. Yeah.
So the leader story is Maram Rotenberg.
Yeah, Maram Rotenberg.
So I think I've heard both stories.
So Maram Rotenberg was captured. He was trying to make Aliyah, and he was trying to escape from. I don't know if he was making Aliyah. He was definitely trying to escape from Germany. He was going south to Spain, which is what the Rush did. His Talmud, the Rush, did exactly that. Maram was trying to escape, and he was captured at the border. He was held captive for about 12 years or so, and they were asking a ransom price. He passed, and he should not be ransomed. Based on this Gemara, we'll see in just a minute the other Gemara, which would maybe support that he should have been ransomed. He continued. It's amazing. We have chuvos that are signed Migdal Eisenstein. In prison, he signs them. Just like the Chassam Sofer's tshuva is signed. The Moshe HaKatan Sofer mi Frankfurt am Main. So Maram writes Mayor, in Castle Eisenstein. It's an amazing thing. So you heard both svaras by the Chassam Sofer, by the Maram Rotenberg. First of all, it was an exorbitant amount of money, and secondly, he didn't want to capture more Talmid Chachamim and do the same thing again. Right? There was nothing stopping the king of Germany from taking anybody he wanted. Exactly. He was a total autocrat, like most kings in the Middle Ages. So that's the Mishnah and the Gemara on Gin Mem Hey Manaf. Gittin Nun Ches Amud Aleph has a story. Nun Ches Amud Aleph in Gittin. Tana Rabbanan. Ma'isa Rabbi Shimon Chananya Shahalach L'Kach Galash Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon Chananya went to a large city in Rome, maybe Rome itself. Amru lo Tinok Echad Yesh Bebeis HaAsurim. We have this. They told him we have this beautiful kid in jail. So Rabbi Shimon Chananya went and he stood outside of the jail, and he said a pasuk: Mi nasan limshisa Yaakov Yisrael lebozizim. So he said half the pasuk. Right? There's like the Shweki song, right? But it is a little bit more complicated because there's a pasuk from Yeshayahu Membeis. Ana also Tinok v'amar. So Tinok responded, "Hello Hashem zu chatanu lo v'lo avu vidrachav. Hello v'lo shamu b'saraso." So Rabbi Shimon Chananya said, "Muftachani bo amar." Rabbi Shimon Chananya said, "Muftachani bo shemora harabi Yisrael." I'm sure that this kid is going to be the Gadol Hador. I'm sure of it. He knows I say one half of a pasuk in Yeshayahu. He says the second half. Clearly, he's a good kid. So he said, "Ha'avoda she'eni zaz mikan ad she'avdenu b'chol mamash haposkin alav." He took a shvua. I won't leave until I redeem it for whatever money they want. Amr lo zaz misham ha'shebedol b'mamon harbe. They said that Rabbi Zuckerman stayed there until he was poda this kid for a lot of money. And it was not long after that this boy Taka became the Gadol Hador, Umanu Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. So he was the great Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha, and he was nifteh for a lot of money. So Tosfos asks the obvious stira, right? The Gemara says you shouldn't be poda for a lot of money, and here you have a story where you were poda for a lot of money. So what's the shot? So there's actually two Tosfos in. And they give different answers. Tosfos on Mem Hey Amud Aleph. So he says, that was different. Mefishay muflug b'chachma. Right? If you knew the Gadol Hador, the future Gadol Hador, was in captivity, and if you can get him, then he could become the leader of Klal Yisrael. So then you should get him. Inami, alternatively, why shouldn't you redeem captives? Because you're concerned they're going to do it again. In Rome, they were capturing whoever they wanted. You're not going to stop them. They're going to take whoever they want. It was just a matter of fact, right? Let's say in Nazi Germany, right? So there were all these plans to ransom, right? To ransom. That was Eichmann, so they got the train, the Kastner train. They paid a ransom fee for whatever Jews they could get. So why, if you do it, you're gonna encourage the Nazis to take more Jews captive? No, you're not. They're taking whoever they can get anyway. So you might as well do Hatzal Fashos, right? Normally the chashash is, by saving one person, I'm endangering 10 other people. But everyone's in danger anyway. That's the second answer. But the first answer in Tosfos is that for a great chacham, you could do it. Now, anyone have any questions on that? Mari Württemberg, you're saying a historical question of why wasn't the Mari Württemberg Mekel? Okay. But just like in Havana, it's like in terms of the Surah of Tosfos, anything bother you? Yeah.
According to the second answer, if it's just that one time, then why is the Gemara even the story? It doesn't seem to have any after.
What's the point of the story? It could just be.
Why bring it down if it's just that historical? It doesn't seem to. It seems like it should be something tied to the actual law. But if it's just some one-off.
I mean, first of all, the Gemara does tell us stories that are just. You should know the history of Klal Yisrael. You should know how Rabbi Shlomo ben Elisha became who he was. You should know, I mean, that's possible, but you do learn fakir. You do learn a halacha. You learn that in a shas hashmad, Tosfos says about the churban, and it's hard to know when it applies. But I would say in Nazi Germany it certainly applied. Any situation where you're not encouraging them to do more because they're just taking whatever they want anyway, so then that's a chiddush in halacha, right? That whenever there's a total, not just that they have the ability, like they always had the ability. Throughout the centuries, most of the time, Klal Yisrael lived under conditions where the government had the ability because they were autocrats. But not that they had it, but they were doing it. They were on a campaign against Klal Yisrael. So then there's no limitations on how you oppose it. Yeah.
You're leaving someone not as subject to the sauce and you show some suffix.
You're asking, how could it be not in the case of Rabbi Shlomo ben Elisha, in a regular case?
Regular case.
How could you leave somebody in a vaday sakanas nefashos mipnei suffix? What do you mean? What's the vaday? What's the suffix?
Is someone sitting in prison.
Vaday sakanas nefashos is that he's sitting in prison. Okay. Sitting in prison? I don't know. Not sure. Probably depends on the prison, right? It might. I mean, pidyon shvuyim Right? There's another Gemara in Bava Basra. Pidyon Shviyim, the Gemara says, is a shavui is worse. Being a shavui is worse than all the other types of death. Right. Cherev. What was the Gemara? Yeah. Kolam ucha b'pasuk zeh is chesed beis. Kolam ucha b'pasuk zeh kashem mechavero. Cherev kashem maves. Right. Cherev maves cherev ra'av and shevi. Right. So shevi is the worst. So we consider it to be a. So you have a person who's in, let's call it a state of circumstance, and yet you would have been matzil him for circumstance. Well, you don't do it.
Someone else might be putting something. Someone else might be putting saying something.
Right. So how could it be? So you're asking a question about etzema on the Gemara, not on Tosfos. How could it be on the Mishnah? Basically, the Mishnah says we're not put a shavui. Yes, how could that be? If he's in danger, so then you should spend all the money in the world. You're saying because like a vale versus suffix, but to stay a little stronger because you have to spend all your money not to violate a losa. Say a losa damreacha. So that way, that's right. We formulate it that way. How could it be that you could ignore the losa say for every losa say? Forget about Talsum Fashos. Every losa say you have to spend all your money to avoid being over. Certainly for Talsum Fashos, we would expect it. So Tosas on Nun Chasam Aleph, Tosas on Nun Chasam Aleph addresses that, right? So Tosas on Mem Hey resolve the steer between the two sugyas in two ways: either Muflag b'Chachma or Shasa Kurban. Tosas on Nun Ches says, how could it be that Rabbi Shua ben Chananya said, I'll redeem him for whatever money they ask? Says Tosas, Ki ikras lakanas nefashos, hodin shvuyon yoser k'dei demeihen. If there's lakanas nefashos, even then we'll be poder shavei for whatever it's worth, whatever it's required. Now, l'chora Tosas will tell you that the Gemara Bava Basra Daf Ches, notwithstanding, practically speaking, some people in prison, the Marami Rotenberg, presumably he wasn't in danger of dying. They probably wanted him to stay alive. They wanted to make a lot of money off it, right? He lived for 13 years in prison. He died. He was a very old man. I don't think he died. Obviously, it's more dangerous to be in prison in some ways, but I don't know. Being in the king's dungeon in Germany is probably better than being in your random hut in Germany. Hard to know, but some people who are shavui clearly are in a much worse shape. So Tosfos says here, this case with Rishon and Chananya was like also fashos, and that's why the Mishnah and Memei just doesn't apply. Inami mishum demufag b'chachma haya. Inami the other answer in Tosfos on Memei. So now we have three answers, right? Three resolutions to this tira. Either all bets are off on their circumstance fashos, or all bets are off when it's Shasa Chorban, or Muflag B'chachma. Yeah, Yaakov, you...
It does seem to say otherwise, but can you say that in the case of when it's in a real subject of cautious, then you're also in subject of cautious, so let's not let me happen so far.
Right, good, excellent. So what does that show you?
It shows me that I don't think, most circumstances, especially during the age of the Gemara, activities, whenever it is a suffering process from one person, the Mishnah seems to be justified because it's suffering pushed out.
So you're saying
There's a specific reason why that one person was in jail or was captured, whatever it is. Presumably all Jews were subjects, were targets for detention. So I don't think there's something about that would be applicable because you're not standing idly about
You're saving everyone else by not encouraging Right.
Or you yourself are just going to be next.
So you're answering Havaryu's question. Havaryu's question was, how could it be that the sakans nefashos of the individual is ignored because of a suffix to other people? You're saying it's not a suffix, it's a vadai. Because if we would redeem him, then you're going with the answer of the Gemara of Loli Garvu, that they shouldn't capture more. If you encourage the people to capture more Jews, then more Jews are being put in sakans nefashos. So you're dafka saving more Jews. Okay.
Let's say you're living in your random village somewhere in Germany.
Yeah.
And it's never really happened before in community, but one time they take someone to ransom.
Right. So that's exactly what we're concerned about. That if they did it once, then and they make a profit, then they'll probably want to do it again.
If it's like a place where the factory people regularly, then economy would be talking about that.
Because what's the pshat that those people were in danger anyway? Meaning in the Shas HaChurban, everyone's in danger anyway. In Nazi Europe, everybody was in danger. Every single Jew was in a state of sakans nefashos. Every single Jew could have been mechal on Shabbos to do whatever he could to get out of Europe. Pasha. So if we pay huge ransom fees to get a few hundred Jews out of Europe, what, we're going to encourage the Nazis to capture more Jews? They don't need any encouragement. Right? Yaakov's saying, but in a situation where it's not the norm, it happened once, so then I'm dafka saving the rest of the Jews by not giving too much encouragement to the captors. Right? That's the. But here's my question. My question is, what's the pshat into answer Tosfos that it's different for a big Talmid Chacham? What does that mean? If what we're saying, let's say the way we're saying it now, right? That you're endangering the Jewish community, every individual, by encouraging the captor. So if that's true, so who cares how big a Talmid Chacham is? Like, okay, obviously big Talmid Chacham are great, and we should be very concerned for them. But tachlis, it's machal nefashos. Yeah? You hear? Yeah? So what's the pshat? So l'chora, seems to me, the pshat is that having somebody who in, let's say, tells his lashon is muflag b'chachma, but the Gemara's lashon is maybe even more powerful in the following way. Muftachani bo, what's the lashon? Muftachani bo shemora hara b'Yisrael. This is a person who's going to impact Klal Yisrael. He's going to lead Klal Yisrael. If you're going with the answer of Lo Ligarvu Tvei, so maybe this wouldn't work. Lo Ligarvu Tvei is saying basically we're concerned that people are going to die. Your actions are going to lead to more death. So there, I'm not sure that how big a Talmid Chacham would matter. But let's according to the first answer to Tosfos. The first answer in the Gemara of what's the Tikkun Olam? Tikkun Olam is Duchka de Tzibura, meaning the Tzibur, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And now we have to explain why that matters. If we all have to spend a lot of money to avoid violating a law, then who cares how much money it is? But it seems what the Gemara is saying is that the tzibur is making a cheshbon here of it's too much for us. It will negatively impact on our lives in so many ways. If we spend all of our money redeeming one person, so then what's left for us to, not that obviously life is more important than money, but you need money to carry on, to lead your life, to do any mitzvah, to build any family, everything that's important. But if the person is Muslim b'chachma, so now you say, wait a minute, what he brings to the tzibur is invaluable. And maybe the tzibur can say to itself, listen, we would have been able to say, we don't need to spend all of our money as invaluable as one life is. We don't need to spend all of our money. We're allowed to say to ourselves, it will too negatively impact on our way of life. But if it's a person who will be more Rabbi Yisrael, so his impact on the tzibur is so great that the tzibur can say, I don't know if they have to say, it's not clear in Tosfos, they have to say, or at least they can say, it's the tikkun ha'olam is dafka to bring him in. We'd rather be a destitute community with his presence, his just total game-changing presence, rather than a comfortable community which can spend money on, all the important communal needs, having a shul, having a bikur cholim society, having an old age home, having educational institutions, all the important things that we do as a community. We're allowed to say that to Trump. Maybe we're allowed to say that to Trump. Pidyon Shvuyim, but we're also allowed to say that the impact of this one great figure will be so game-changing in our community that we can be podeh. I think that's Pshat Tosfos. I mean, who cares about Mutlaq B'Chachma? What changes? The Chiv Tzedakah, the Chiv Hatzos Fashos is the same for every Jew. There's Kedima for a Talmid Chacham, but every Jew you have to say it's the same mitzvah deraisa. If you have to choose between two people, so you might choose the Talmid Chacham first. That also, that itself, the fact that you choose the Talmid Chacham first, like what's the shot in that? It might be because of the Talmid Chacham's impact on the tzibur. Lav dafka, he's a more valuable person. Like Mar says, my chazz is it's hard to assign value to a person in an objective sense. Like he ain't dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh. We don't say he's better than him, but we could say for his impact on me, if I have a mitzvah to save everybody, and there's two people in front of me, and I can choose who to save, I can say he's more. One of them is I'm biased here. One of them is a doctor, and one of them is I don't want to offend anybody, but that guy is so amazing. You should have. But we'll say it. Well, I'll respect what you said. One's a doctor, and one of them is a leave breaker. So I'm allowed to say I'd rather have the doctor. But the day that the park was spotlessly clean, my kids were like in heaven. So the next day we said, so that the guy it was very nice. But we really appreciate him. But tachlis, I'm allowed to say, who would I rather have? So I'm allowed to say, I'd rather have the doctor. So I'll say the doctor first. In Rav Shachter's Shuvos, that published recently, I think he says this, that the person who makes a greater impact on the tzibur, because he's talking about, in post can talk about, how do you apply that Mishnah? Mishnah says, ish kodem leisha, and kohen kodem levi. Like, how do you apply that b'zman hazeh? So they say, like, Torah Ian, like, you shouldn't, definitely don't just, like, save all the men for the women. That's definitely wrong. Rav Shechter says, like, l'chora, it's based on, that's what he thinks. L'chora, it's based on the impact, the to'eles for the community. So that's probably the seed of this idea, but I think it's just Pshat Tosfos.
Two things. One, here you can see, just talking about, again, this first over here, that I don't have any reason giving out the water bottle because I don't have to give the person to give it. Yeah.
Right.
But when it comes to Chacham, he is first in the chain, so I have to give all my money.
I don't have to give him my water. Right? In that case of the water, right? So you have two people out in the desert, and one of them has a water bottle, and the other the other one doesn't. So Rabbi Kiva says, we don't say, oh, but if he's Talmid Chacham, he comes first. We don't say that.
Two.
Yeah.
What was your chapters?
Respirators. If you have a limited number of respirators. No one's on. Yeah, he talks about even if someone is on one, what should you do? It's yeah. It's you have to remember. I think you told me that you heard. Rav Shai. That was an amazing story.
So if he's still on the restaurant, that's I shot.
Right, so even Chayesha, you can't murder somebody, even if they're, right? So that's, anyway, but, yeah. So, okay, so we're saying that Tosfos, by introducing this fact of Muflaqul Chachma, is already indicating to us that the Tzibor's, like the impact on the Tzibor is relevant in the case of when we are Podeh, and that's also the Pshat when we're not Podeh. It doesn't have to be, again, we're going to use this maybe to explain the Chassam Sofer and the Rush. It doesn't have to be that it's mamish sakanos tefashos for the tzibur, right? The Gemara had two answers. Again, the Gemara said, "What's a tikkun olam such that you're not podeh shvuyim?" So first, the Gemara said because of ducha tzibura, and then the Gemara said because you shouldn't encourage them to do it more. So encouraging to do it more, Yaakov was saying, or that's sakanos tefashos, and that's why you ignore one person's sakanos tefashos for the sakanos tefashos of the tzibur. But what about this ducha de tzibura? That's also sakanos tefashos. Rashi said it's anios. We don't need to force the tzibur into anios for pidon shvuyim. Why not though? You have to spend all your money for sakanos tefashos, for lo sano dam recha. So the Chassam Sofer says that that's only true. Lo amra ela b'yachid shetzach levazes kol mamono hatil atzmo al hatzibur. We only say by an individual that needs to spend all his money and even put himself on the tzibur to get tzedakah in order to avoid violating the law. Aval tzibur hanidchak, but a tzibur which is pushed, which is under pressure. B'frat b'zman shemus olam tekifim al sami Yisrael. And certainly in the time, especially in the time when the non-Jews are pressuring Klal Yisrael, have a ducha the tzibur b'chla b'koch nefesh. The dochach, the economic dochach itself is b'koch nefesh. K'moshe kasav harash, k'akam davar basra, k'moshe kasav b'shulchan aruch, yerdei simin rishon aleph. Right, he uses both of the Rush's points. Number one, the Russian Bava Basra about taxes being shmira, says that what the Chassam Sofer says pshat in that is because it's like a pikuach nefesh, and then also the other Rush pasuk in the Shulchan Aruch that you divert money from Talmud Torah to paying taxes because you're saving people from being pressured by the government, and that's also b'chlal pikuach nefesh. So right, so if the ducha de tzibura, it's not direct pikuach nefesh, but the financial hardship on the community becomes a type of pikuach nefesh, and the flip side of that being that if the tzibur decides, I think that's Frantosis, if the tzibur says, for us it's not a hardship. For us, the worst hardship would be not to have a mora hora. How can you live life without a mora? So we can decide, a person can't say, I'll give my water to the Talmid Chacham and I'll die. That you can't say. But the tzibur can say, this is chayenu. Our chayenu is to have a mora hora. So we'll spend all the money we need to, if it will lead to having a mora hora. Good? Yeah? Okay. Another example of a tzibur type of cheshbon is the 5:30. Wow. Okay. The Gemara in Shabbos. The Gemara in Shabbos says as follows. I thought this is what you were going to say. You said before. My question was, how do we see? How could ducha de zibura jump to pikuach nefesh? So you said Shabbos. I was getting excited. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara men bezim and alpha Shabbos. Mechaben gachelas shamateches b'rshus harabim b'shvir shelo yizoku barabim. You can extinguish a metal coal, meaning something metal which is burning in rshus harabim. You can extinguish it in order shelo yizoku barabim, so that people, the public, shouldn't get injured. Avalo gachelas shel eitz, but not a wood coal. Okay. So if there's burning metal in Rshus Harabim, you can extinguish it. Burning wood, you cannot. What is the difference? Right? What's the difference between metal and wood? Says Rashi, The difference is that metal is only an Isser D'Rabbanan because doesn't explain, but the Ramban, Rashi doesn't explain why. Ramban says because this may not be the same as Rashi, but the Ramban says it's only D'Rabbanan by metal because tziruf, meaning the act of cooling off a metal, which then results in it becoming hard and like a full kli, it might be tikkun kli, that isn't relevant by a coal. A random piece of metal which is hot, and you extinguish it, that's not going to be a tikkun. It's just a kilkul ba'alma. So there's no malacha. But when it comes to the wood, when you extinguish it, it could be malacha deoraisa because it's a coal. It's now it's useful as a coal. So that's how he learns. So the difference is deraisa d'Rabbanan. So if you have a burning piece of wood or shrabim, you can't. Again, it's not halacha ma'isa. There's a fire nowadays. We probably treat it a little bit more as more dangerous. But just for the principle of the matter, if there's something in the Rosh Rabbim which is dangerous for the Rabbim, right? Dangerous for the Rabbim, according to Rashi and Ramban, you can do a d'Rabbanan to put it out, but not a d'Oraisa. That's how they learn. So metal you can extinguish because that's d'Rabbanan. Wood you cannot extinguish, that would be d'Oraisa. But the Ramban quotes the Bahag. The Bahag says, what's the difference between metal and wood? When wood burns, there's smoke. So yes, it would be a malacha d'Oraisa to extinguish it, but more importantly is that everybody can see it's dangerous. There's a burning piece of wood in Shus Rabbim. No normal individual is going to go near it. They're going to stay far away. Masha Ein Kain, if it's metal doesn't release a lot of smoke, so it's extremely dangerous. It's super hot. It could seriously injure somebody, and it's not obviously dangerous. So even though it's deoraisa, you can still extinguish it. That's the pshitas of Bahag, right? The difference between metal and wood is not deoraisa d'Rabbanan, but rather is it dangerous or not? Metal is dangerous to the Rabbim, wood is not. Says the Ramban. V'teimahu. That's the sheet of the Bahag and the Rabbi Chanana, but it's a tema. How could you allow malacha d'oraisa because it could hurt somebody if it's not sakanas tefashos? We're talking about a hot piece of metal. It's a hot piece of metal, so it can hurt somebody, it can hurt them bad, but it's not sakanas tefashos. So why are you allowed to do malacha d'oraisa? So he says, v'shema, maybe the pshat of the Hag is kol hezek shel rabim kisakanas nefashos chashiv leishmu. Shmuel considers any danger to the Rabbim, any physical danger to the Rabbim, not danger in the sense of nefashos, any type of injury that could happen to the Rabbim, that's like sakanas nefashos. That's the sheet of the Bahag. So, halacha l'maisa, we don't pass like the Bahag, although in more recently, poskim more recently in the modern state of Israel, have invoked the Bahag for interesting purposes, like the functioning of a police force on Shabbos, right? Are the police allowed to do malacha d'oraisa in order to respond to, let's say, the example I started with, right? Two people are fighting, right? So if two people are fighting, if you're in the Chadar Ochel on Shabbos and a brawl erupts, right? So you're not allowed to do malacha d'oraisa. You're not allowed to do malacha d'oraisa. We've all seen many brawls in all sorts of sports. Nobody, as far as I know, I don't think anyone's ever died from a brawl in a sport. Boxing is different. That's different. Boxing, yeah, it's different. Are you allowed to box? It's a different story. But a brawl. So if a brawl breaks out in the Chadar Ochel, so you do whatever you can to stop it, but you can't do malacha d'oraisa. So the poskim, Tzitzilezer, Shlomo Zalman, they talk about can the police drive? There's a report that someone calls the police and says, there's two guys fighting, really, like there's a brawl in the middle of Ben Yehuda. So what can the police do? So they both say, based on this Bahag, I don't know how they come out halach lamaisa. They say the Bahag is a strong tziruf to say that you can do malchat deraisa because nipping that brawl in the bud could be sakas nefashos. Like that might be sakas nefashos because you don't know what's going to happen next. When you talk about the tzibur, you're not sure how it's going to end up, like we were talking about before, right? What changes when you talk about the tzibur? First of all, maybe one of the people in the brawl, it could be the whole public. So maybe one of those people is going to be, who gets hit by accident, is going to be a 90-year-old woman, right? If you're talking about the Chadarocha, if you're talking about a sporting event. So the people in the brawl are all healthy, young men. But Ben Yehuda, there's a brawl on a Friday night, somebody might be walking by and get hit in the face who is a 90-year-old man. And number two, when you have an uncontained nezek, l'rabim, so then it just might spread. Like, who knows what's going to happen next? Like, things might escalate. You have to be choshesh for escalation in a much more significant way. So what they're saying is that the Rabbim perspective takes into account so much more, just on the level of how dangerous seemingly insignificant things could be. A similar example, and this one is a little more. I'm not sure if we pass like it, and it's not like a common actual case, but the perspective maybe. The Gemara Nedarim. The Gemara Nedarim says like this: Mayan shel b'nei ha'ir. There's payment base. Mayan shel b'nei ha'ir. So you have a city which has a spring. All right, the spring begins. It starts in a city. This again is very common. This is very important for international relations for Israel. The Treaty of Israel and Jordan, the Golan Heights, and the war with Syria, all related to water. Right, that's like the main things is the water supply. So, Mayan shel b'nei ha'ir, you have a Mayon which starts in one city. Chayein v'chayei acherim, chayein kodmin. So you have this city and the water's in their town, and then it flows to another town. So if it's that city needs the water for their own life, they need water to drink, and the second city needs water to drink. Chayein kodmin, right? That's like the Gemara of Mitzvah that Yaakov brought up. So your life comes first. Their animals need water, the other animals need water, their animals come first. Your laundry and the laundry of another town, your laundry comes first. What about, so city A, which is at the mouth of the river, at the point where it comes out of the ground, they need laundry. They have enough water for sure for drinking. They need laundry. City B, which is a little bit further downstream, they need water for drinking, for their life. Who comes first? Tanakama says, the life of the second city comes first. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Yossi says, no, your laundry comes first. How could it be? How could your laundry be doche chaye acherim? Laundry. So maybe Shira guys is not the right audience for this chiddush. But the Ran says, "Disrila Rabbi Yossi, dechevan debimnias kvisa ika sa'aratuva chaye nefesh." Since not doing laundry will be sa'aratuva chaye nefeshu. The great tsa'ar of not doing laundry will become chaye nefesh. It will lead possibly to loss of life. What does that mean? Right? It's statistics again. But now the statistics we're saying the small chance, and maybe not so small, hard to know, right? There's more disease, right? There's more disease when you don't wash your clothing. Certainly, again, Middle Ages, it isn't just that laundry. It was like the whole lifestyle. There's more dirt, more grime, more contamination in general. They probably, people who survived probably have stronger immune systems, but in general, they lived, with a much more vermin, disease, bacteria all around. So doing laundry, in the short term, it's tough, but progressively in the aggregate, it becomes chaye nefesh. l'chora, the Ran and the Ramban are going in one type of direction, that when we think about it in terms of aggregate, and that's an idea that we saw also in terms of Pidin Shvuyim. But in Pidin Shvuyim, there's another aspect to it, which is the lifestyle, right? That's what we saw also. That if it could be that not having money, it's not that in the aggregate necessarily more people will die, but the tzibur might be able to make a cheshbon of our quality of life, and this is like we have to define this, better than we have time for now, but our quality of life doesn't have to suffer for the hatzal sefashos of somebody else, right? That if it's going to lead to wide scale anius, maybe because anius will lead to death, that's possible, but also just we don't have to suffer that much. We don't have to suffer that much in order to be podeh, and that's why concurrently, if it's a Gava Rabbah who will have a strong impact on the tzibur, then they can choose that they do want to be podeh, and they're not considered to be forfeiting their own lives. They're saying, now the cheshbon is worth it for us, because it will improve our quality of life in such a way. So, just to recap, we've seen, so a tzibur has a chiyuv to do hatzal sefashos. A tzibur has a chiyuv to prevent people from being in a situation where they need hatzal sefashos in the first place. So a chiyuv, there's a chovas at tzibur l'chora to build hospitals and to have hatzalah and to advocate for healthy eating practices and all those things. What about tachlis when the call comes and the tzibur says, okay, there's a person who needs the tzibur's help? So generally speaking, we have representatives of the tzibur, we have, ambulance drivers, we have doctors, we have healthcare, social workers, we have a whole social apparatus, and that's a kiyum, all a kiyum of our chovas hatzibur to engage in mus chasadim and tzedakah and all these things. But under certain circumstances, when there's a cost to the tzibur, we see that the tzibur doesn't have to go that far, right? Whether it's tzara tuva in the Ran in Adarim, whether it's we see that there's a sakan sefashos on a wider scale. Now, let's say saving this one person will lead to sakan sefashos on a wider scale, and see when it will lead to anius, right? And that anius itself could be explained either because anius leads to danger to people, or because it's just quality of life. And the fact that Tosfos says that for a Gava Rabbah we do spend money, it seems like it's going more in that direction. It's not that the Gava Rabbah's life is more valuable, but rather that his impact on the tzibur is more valuable. So the quality of life of the tzibur can also be taken into account. Let's say it's halach l'maisa, not to paskin, but just to think about. So, and we see these things playing out. It's very obvious when we look out the window when you're confronted with a question of how far does the tzibur have to go to save life, or even to prevent loss of life, to prevent people from getting sick in the first place. So, on a yachid level, I can never say I'm going to open my store because I need a parnasa. Someone's going to die. Plony's going to die. No, that's totally illegitimate. I can't sentence Plony to death in order that I should have a parnasa. But the tzibur can say, we know that let's say in the Gemara Nidar, right? Chayein kodem l'chayei acherim. Our life takes precedence to their life. So we're not sentencing anyone to death. We're just saying chayein kodem. Now, that's true in that case because it's like water. It's very much in front of you. But let's say it's going to be large-scale economic difficulty to shut down our economy, for people to not go out of their houses, to not engage in business, to not take care of pressing medical issues or things, right? Or let's say unpressing, right? That was one of the more not so surprising but unfortunate stats, right? people who seems got sick and maybe died from non-urgent medical matters. Right? If someone had an urgent medical matter, so of course they went to the hospital, even at the height of the corona, pandemic. But people who had, a follow-up appointment with a cardiologist, an annual checkup with a pulmonologist, so things get not noticed, right? That makes sense, right? A person who knows they have a tumor, so they got it taken care of. A person who just had who should have had a checkup, so on an individual level, we'd say don't go. But for the tzibur, if now we're saying hundreds of thousands of people, we tell all of them not to go to their annual checkups. Well, there's a reason they should have an annual checkup. It's because they should find out if they have these types of lurking medical issues. So the tzibur can say as a whole, we aren't going into lockdown. We as a tzibur are going to resist this lockdown, even though we know statistically it could harm others. There might be room for the tzibur to say, again, I don't think the Israeli government or any other government, Polshkin, asked the shaila, but if the shaila would have come up, if they would have asked it, then the answer might have been exactly what's going on right now, which is we as a tzibur will make a cheshbon that for us to have an economy that's functional, for our collective psychological well-being, for our collective health, to have regular checkups with our doctors, for our collective child psychology, that kids should have a normal interaction, playing with friends and going to school. We're allowed to make a decision that will negatively impact other people, right? Even first of all, because in the aggregate, if there's wide-scale unemployment, wide-scale psychological issues, wide-scale people not going to doctors, then people could be dying, right? People could be dying from second stage effects of those types of activities. And even without them, maybe just for the public way of life, for the ducha tzibura, the ducha tzibura. So it's just, to me, it's a fascinating example of how halacha plays out. We saw the first parak. The tzibur is a different animal than the yachid. That's what we saw in the first parak. We saw it in terms of tzedakah, in terms of other dinim over there. But here, in the realm of it's also fashos and shmira also, and the same is true on the shmira level. The people who are going out to business, people are going out to shop, and they also might be putting themselves at some slight risk, but also in the furthering of the tzibur having a sense of normalcy. So it's just to me it's a fascinating example. I don't know how it all will play out tachlis l'maisa, but I think just that we appreciate maybe a little more what is at stake here, and how the different factors get judged in halacha. Yeah. Yeah.
There seems to be like